Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of The Rundown here on Big Rapids Daily News. Brandon Worth, Jack Heckman here with you, your CSAA recap. Today, we will be giving our score reports for baseball and softball, as well as some games on the docket upcoming. Then we have a great interview stepping into the Oval this week, talking with head coach Chippewa Hills and the girls program, Zach Hatfield, as well as we will talk a little bit about the track season so far, some names to watch, and also what to look forward to in the championships coming up here on May 8th. Jack, very busy week now. We're starting to get games and meets pretty much every day of the week. So if you're a sports fan and you find a night where you got nothing going on, you're not a true fan, because there's stuff going on every single night now.
Yeah, there sure is. 30 baseball games last week. We're going to have 44 baseball games this week. And then you talk about track and field getting going. There's meets. There really is stuff just about every day in the CSAA this week.
Certainly going to be a fun week to follow. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any episodes upcoming. Big thanks goes out to Denny's Muffler and Brakes in Big Rapids. You can visit them on State Street. Give them a call, 796-6335 for your automotive needs. Also, big thanks to Eagle Village. If you want a job that impacts the lives of youth, you know where to go, eaglevillage.org/careers. All right, let's get into our scores to recap here, Jack. And obviously, baseball and softball was very busy this week, as we mentioned. We will go in on the baseball side first for both recapping games and previewing. Then we'll go to softball in respective order. Big Rapids takes down Ludington by a score of 10-0, but the Orioles get revenge in the battle. The Birds winning 8-7 in a tight one in game 2. Central Montcalm Chip Hills battled the Warriors, get a sweep over the Hornets 12-1 and 3-2 in game 2. Grant gets a sweep over the Eagles by a score 10-0, as well as 5-1. Errors costly for the Eagles in that one. Reed City dominates with the Bats. Just chatted with Caleb Sommers, who had a big doubleheader against the Wildcats. 10-3 and 15-0 your scores there. Tri-County knocks off Moe Stanwood in a pair, 16-1 and 9-2. The scores in that respective doubleheader. And Newaygo and White Cloud get a split in intra-conference action. 10-2 Newaygo wins in game 2. White Cloud steals game 1 by a score of 10-8, despite 8 errors. White Cloud and Hesperia did battle. The Indians sweep the Panthers 8-2 and 6-3. Lakeview is in tournament action. They win game 1 against Carson City Crystal, but fall to Bath in that championship game by a score of 10-0. Shelby gets a sweep over White Cloud. They're now at 15 wins on the year, winning 5-0 and 5-4. White Cloud, though, does get revenge. They get a split against Lakeview. Falling in game 1, the Wildcats win 4-2 with Coach Perez's squad. At the Indians get game 2 9-3. Big Rapids, how about a narrow, tight games against Tri-County? They win it 5-4 and 3-2. Great games being played there at Big Rapids recently. Moe Stanwood falls to Central Montcalm by a combined 29-0. Just an absolutely great offensive display, as well as defensive display from the Hornets. Grant goes to Chippewa Hills and gets a sweep over the Warriors, winning 15-2 and 9-6. The final scores there. And in Reed City, it would be the Coyotes in game 1 by a score of 8-6, but the Lions get revenge 4-3 in game number 2. Those are the CSAA games to recap. Jack, any notable thoughts, especially some of these games where we saw some sweeps that we expected and we saw some splits that we also probably expected?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to take away from this week. And one of those really is the Reed City Bats starting to wake up. They're starting to really find themselves. Their pitching staff was solid, but they really showed their offense against the Lakeview Wildcats. Another one, too, is Chip Hills taking 2 away from Central Montcalm, especially in the fashion they did it in game 1 in a 12-1 victory on 8 hits, and then only having 2 hits in the second game, but still getting the victory. This Warrior squad is starting to stack up wins earlier in the season. Haven't played the toughest of competition, but when you go out and beat a Hornets team that's, put themselves on the map in the last couple of years, Chip Hills maybe building some momentum into the late part of the season.
Absolutely. And give a shout out to Coach Gary's squad as well for the Cardinals. That was certainly a tough matchup with Tri-County. Tri-County got up, especially in game 2. Looked like they were going to get the split, but the Cardinals hold them off at home with a winner in the 6th. So some big games, obviously, to recap, and obviously some offense that has started to pick up now that we're starting to see more time outside for a lot of these players. Let's take a look now at some games to preview coming up next week. And Jack, according to your math, we had 30 games this past week. We're going to have 44 this next week. So buckle up. It's starting to be tournament action here this next week. We got Ravenna hosting Kent City. Kent City will also go the next day on the 30th to face off against Newaygo. Big Rapids will host Morley Stanwood in a little intra-conference play. Grant will be hosting White Cloud on the 30th, as well as Tri-County will be hosting Lakeview, and Reed City will be hosting Central Montcalm. Grant will be facing off against Allendale. That'll be in tournament action. Chippewa Hills will also be facing Gladwin there on May 1st. Alma will be the host for Central Montcalm. That will be in a non-conference pair. Traverse City West will play on May 1st at Big Rapids. Should be interesting to see the Trojans and the Cardinals battle. Tri-County will be in tournament action at Wayland on the 2nd. Reed City will also be in tournament action at Everett on the 2nd. And Morley Stanwood potentially in tournament play on May 2nd as well. That's Saturday. Lakeview will be going to Pine River. Those two teams will square off. Central Montcalm against Beale City. They're from Stanton. Should be very fun to see the pitching matchups potentially on tap. Greenville will be hosting Tri-County on May 4th, followed by White Cloud will be hosting Bear Lake. Tri-County will be against Newaygo. They're from Howard City. That will start conference play next Tuesday on the 5th. Reed City will host a pair against Grant. We'll see if the offense keeps the bats going against the Tigers. Lakeview looks to try to get 2 more wins. They will face off against Morley Stanwood in CSAA-White play. Central Montcalm will be hosting Kent City in a doubleheader, and Big Rapids against Chippewa Hills. They're from Big Rapids. Should be some big matchups. Jack, which ones are you keeping an eye out for?
I mean, all these games are going to be fun, but just to name a few, it's really Chip Hills and Big Rapids. That's going to be a very fun matchup to watch. And some of these tournament games are going to be really fun and interesting to see how some of these teams end up dealing with their pitching staff going into tournament play. Obviously, you're guaranteed most of these teams to play 2 games on a Saturday, and then some teams will turn around, or all teams will turn around and play games on Tuesday. But those teams in tournaments, they're going to have to save their pitching, especially a team like Tri-County, who's already kind of run into some struggles. They have a big ace in David Torrey, who's had a very successful season. It's going to be interesting to where they go at the back end and what they do on Tuesday and Saturday.
Absolutely. And you look at teams, especially like Central Montcalm with Emmett Ligman, who's pitched very well, but the depth has certainly been an underrated piece for some of these teams like Grant and Chip Hills that have started off the season very, very strong. Let's flip on over now to softball action. Let's take a look at scores to recap from week 4. This would be April 22nd where we start. Ithaca and Central Montcalm did battle from Ithaca. Yellow Jackets take game 1 10-0, but Montcalm battles back for the split 4-2. Big Rapids squared off at home against Mount Pleasant. It'll be the Oilers 12-3 and 17-1 in softball action. Chippewa Hills falls at home in a pair against Central Montcalm 13-0 and 15-5. 11 errors for the Warriors, one of the highest we've seen in a single game in a long time. Grant and Kent City did battle. The Eagles upset the Tigers on the road. Huge wins, 12-0 and 6-5. Reed City gets a pair of 1-run thrilling wins against Lakeview, 8-7, and you guessed it, 8-7. There on the 23rd. Tri-County falls to Morley Stanwood as the Mohawks remain perfect, 16-1, and then 18-0. Those scores reported there. Newaygo gets the win over White Cloud in a pair, 10-4 and 15-0 to make it 2 more wins to the tally. Hesperia sweeps White Cloud 13-6 and 2-1. Big Rapids gets a win against the Vikings of Cadillac in game 1, 12-7, but fall in game 2 by a score of 8-7. Kent City over Covenant Christian in game 1, 10-8, and then we all ended square in a tie, 7-7 when the game was called there in game 2. Reed City against Mason County Central. Coyotes make it 2 more on the week. They win 11-1 and 18-3 over the Spartans. Shelby over White Cloud in a pair, 11-2 and 13-5. So the Tigers take down the Indians. White Cloud would also fall to Lakeview 15-3 and 22-7. Big time bats awake for the Lakeview Wildcats. Big Rapids gets their first conference wins of the season. They knock off Tri-County 17-1 and 24-9. Morley Stanwood edges out Central Montcalm 5-4 and then 17-9 in game 2 to keep their perfection game going. Reed City wins 19-18 over Newaygo. What a big upset win. And they would all go on to win game number 2 by a score of 12-0. And finally, Chippewa Hills against Grant. It'd be the Tigers in a full sweep, 12-2 and 15-0 the scores there. Jack, thoughts on this score slate from this past week?
I think it's the Coyotes and the Eagles are the 2 teams we're talking about in softball this week. Kent City, an amazing week, getting the sweep over Grant and then carrying that momentum into this week. And then Reed City, these were 2 games that really not many people expected. The Coyotes are on an 8-game winning streak right now after starting 0-8. They're back to 500. The momentum and the feel and the vibes are back up in Reed City, especially after, the offense and the pitching staff, their defense also holding their own behind their pitching staff. I mean, you would win a game 19-18, an absolute thriller in game one, and then you go up and you follow that up with a shutout 12-0. How could you not be, ecstatic with the performance the Coyotes put on this week?
Absolutely, indeed. And give credit to Coach Larson as well. Knocking off the Tigers, that's going to be huge for them, especially in the conference standings, just for overall confidence, knowing you're going to have to play against Montcalm and Moe Stanwood here later on this year. And certainly going to be fun to get. Let's take a look at some games to preview here for week 5. This would be April 29th through the 5th. We'll actually start on the 30th as there is no games on Wednesday, April 29th. Newaygo will be hosting Kent City. So we'll see if the Eagles can make it an absolute sweep over M37. Big Rapids will be hosting Moe Stanwood from BR. Grant will be hosting White Cloud in non-conference but conference action, as well as Tri-County will be hosting Lakeview in a pair, and Reed City will be hosting the Hornets of Central Montcalm. Grant will be hosting Allendale non-conference action to begin the month of May on the 1st. Gladwin will also be hosting Chippewa Hills on the 1st. Alma will be hosting the Hornets of Central Montcalm. As we go to the 2nd, Mount Pleasant will be hosting Grant. Tigers also slated to play Elk Rapids that weekend in tournament action, and potentially East Lansing. Pine River will be hosting Lakeview and potentially Brethren in tournament action, as well as Pine River and Moe Stanwood slated to square off. That could be a really fun matchup between two double-digit win teams so far this year. Central Montcalm, Beale City will square off on the 4th. Newaygo will be also in tournament action as well, to mention on the 2nd. Owasso and Lake Orion on the schedule. White Cloud will be hosting Bear Lake on that Monday, the 4th, while by the Tuesday, the 5th, Tri-County will be hosting Newaygo. Reed City will be hosting Grant. Lakeview will be hosting Moe Stanwood. Central Montcalm hosting Kent City, and Big Rapids hosting Chippewa Hills in CSAA-Red action. Jack, what are some games that you have highlighted this coming week?
There's a lot to like this week, and really tomorrow on Thursday, Kent City Newaygo is going to be a phenomenal matchup. And this weekend, some of the potential matchups, Morley Stanwood and Pine River. How could you not love that matchup? Morley Stanwood, they have won 16 straight regular season games dating all the way back to last year, 12-0 to begin this season, and Pine River's 15-1. This could be a phenomenal potential matchup in tournament play at Pine River. Beale City, Central Montcalm. That's also another phenomenal matchup. Beale City 6-4, Central Montcalm 7-6. That's a Monday matchup. And then, Tuesday, you got two matchups that could be phenomenal as well. Big Rapids and Chip Hills. Both those teams have had their ups and downs. And then Kent City, Central Montcalm, those could be two teams going, nail to nail in for second place the rest of the season. Those are teams that have been flip-flopping in the conference standings. Just phenomenal matchups this week.
Should be really fun indeed. And watch out for Big Rapids as well. A couple wins, some confidence now under their belt, looking into non-conference and conference play this upcoming week. That's going to wrap it up for us for baseball and softball. Now we transition to the track, and first an interview with Chippewa Hills and track and field coach Zach Hatfield. Now joining us here on the rundown, very special guest. We have the head coach of the girls track and field, as well as the cross country program at Chippewa Hills High School, Zach Hatfield, joining us. Coach, thank you so much for giving us some time.
Anytime. Happy to join you.
Absolutely. No, it's a big season for you guys, already out and running, a couple conference wins under your belt, but especially for what's going on at Chippewa Hills track and field. How's the season been in your coach's eyes so far?
It's been a great season. It's been a great start. We have a big group of underclassmen that came out. And so it's always fun to find out, kind of get those kids, figuring out what's best for them, where they're going to fit in with the team the best. Watching the upperclassmen kind of lead them and guide them is great. So we really focus on trying to, get improvements, get kids, finding good spots for them, where they can compete well. And so that's kind of been the focus of our start.
Absolutely. And rolling over from a cross-country championship on the girls' side, I know brings a lot of momentum. Just talk about the way this program has been built. You've had the championship success in cross-country, track and field. It has really rolled over and it's mirrored it the same. Just talk about the way this program is structured and how you guys continuously see success and depth on the track from cross-country as well, from your perspective.
It really is. The kids enjoy being around each other. They embrace that work ethic of on days when it's hard to put the work in, they do it together. They hold each other accountable really well. And that just rolls through, kids that are playing winter sports, the girls go out and support them. The kids go out and support each other. But if they're not, they usually show up and they work out well through the winter. They don't always necessarily race through the winter, but they do work out. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere a little bit, so we don't always get the opportunity to get anywhere, hour and a half drive to get anywhere in the wintertime to compete, but they always are working out through the week, and that's, they do that together. They enjoy that time together, and they pay it. It pays off during both seasons. Obviously, track season, the one following it, but that kind of helps build itself. It's really the interaction between the kids. They build up with each other.
For sure. And especially with this year's track and field group, and you can touch on your cross country kids as well. What's the big strength of this year's track and field team? Already got some wins in conference, as I mentioned, as well as some things that, maybe showing a little bit of inexperience, some young athletes as well that still have room to grow.
Yeah, we really do have both. I actually think that's our biggest strength, is that we are so balanced. We have a lot of great upperclassmen leaders. We have, kids in the middle that are learning how to be leaders, or have kind of started to find their role and are strengthening that. And we have a lot of underclassmen that are coming out. And across the board in track too, we're really balanced. We maybe don't have, that one person that is going to go out and, win every single event across the board. But we do have a lot of really good athletes, and we have, and they are spread out really well, from, the sprints to the jumps to the throws to the distance. And I think that's our biggest strength, is that we cover all our bases really well.
Absolutely. Just talk about some of those individuals that maybe some fans have probably seen in the newspapers, have seen kind of highlighted on athletic.net ratings, as well as some that you might say, hey, be on the lookout for some of these individuals coming up over the next season or two.
Yeah, a few of them. Dory Simon is the big name. She was an all-state runner in cross country. She's a distance runner that's really starting to grow. And as a sophomore, she's learned a lot. And it's really fun to see her grow and strengthen and learn how to work hard and really grind and put things together. So she's learning different races and where her strengths and weaknesses are. Peyton Nellis is a big name. She's, good middle distance. We can really probably put her anywhere from the mile or the 100-meter dash to the 2 mile. And she won't want me to hear her say she could run the 2 mile, but she really is very versatile there. We have, some returners with, Clara Volmer in the field events and the pole vault. Cam MacArthur's a junior, one of our top sprinters. She's coming off of an incredible winter. She worked super hard. And if you look at her jump from last year to this year, it's just been, she's just turning into a strong leader and a big part of that group. Frankie Falls, a field event kid that if you look at her, if you're talking about athletic.net, you look at her field event profile. She hasn't tried the pole vault yet, and that's about it. I mean, she can do any high jump, long jump, discus, shot put. She hurdled last year a little bit. She's really a versatile kid. She's a big name from basketball, and men volleyball as well. Helena Clark's really coming on strong in the throws. She's our number one shot putter, and she's incredible. We have some great leaders. Quinn Hatfield, my daughter, is a senior this year, and she's been, her success through her career has been incredible. Coming in as a freshman, she's really led the team early on, and she can run anything from a 400 to a 2 mile and do really well in it. And she's just an anchor to a lot of those relays, consistent, strong for that. So, and that, that relay with like a 4x8 with Macy Cornell, she's coming back as a junior. She's real versatile, ran a 400 the other day for the first time and did really well in that. I'm missing some names, but those are a lot of those kids that just, keep working. Austin Dubois, that's another one. I guess I shouldn't miss her. She just keeps improving. The other day she had a race and she wasn't very happy with it, and she PR'd. So it's a pretty good feeling if you don't think your race is that good yet, and you're still running your fastest times ever. So she's an incredible competitor. Super proud of her and for what she gives.
For you being with this program for so many years, how have you seen not only Chippewa Hills Warrior Track evolve over that time, but also the conference as a whole, the CSAA, and how the entire sport has changed through your eyes? Yeah,
I mean, it's been really, you look back on it and it's been a lot of years. And I came in and I started with Sally Schaefer and Alex Vanderveen. Were here with us, and Sally was the head coach, Alex was assistant coach, and I just came on and tried to make a spot for myself and help out. just to help. And it was a great group of people to work with, to learn from. We coached together for a long time, had a ton of success, won a state title in 14 and 15. And really, when you have a group of people that care about the kids and doing the best for each other, a lot of things are possible. And so, I saw that, and we just try to keep that continuation going, do what's best for kids, work together well. And you start seeing that now, like across the board, like a lot of coaching staffs are sharing coaches, right? I think back 20 years ago, it wasn't necessarily the case, didn't happen as often. And people see that, like, hey, this benefits the kids a ton. We use our time wisely. We can be much more effective that way. And so you see it across the board. I mean, people doing that. So that'd be a big change I have seen, that streak of conference titles, it really spans across, I think it's 3 different conferences or 2 different conferences back during the Western Waterways, the WAC, years ago. And then, fast forward through with we were all together, and we had Hesperia and Holton and Fremont in the league, Central Montcalm, we're split now into 2 different divisions, but they were there, and now we have Newaygo and obviously Big Rapids and Reed City. We've always been kind of together in that league. So I've seen a lot of great coaches come through. I still talk to a lot of them. I talked to Brent Mitchell last week, former coach at Reed City, right? And I talked to him the other day, and he's out and around. Him and his wife are time and meets. I still see them, and we have great coaches in the league. The CSAA has incredible coaches. Coach Saladin up at Reed City, he's a great coach, and so it's great to see. That is really good for the sport, right? And cross and track, we see each other so much, and it's really about what we were trying to do what's best for our kids and the kids in general in the sport.
Final question for you, Coach. We appreciate the time here this morning. Where do you see this group? I know there's obviously aspirations for conference and regionals here late upcoming this year, but especially what are some key meets that you guys have highlighted on the schedule, and what are some teams that you're looking out for in both conference and the region?
Yeah. We have our conference and region. So, Newaygo is a really good girls team in the region, or in the league. I mean, they have some really good stuff. They were regional champs last year in their region, and they returned everybody this year. And they had some great improvements. They're definitely a team that's on our radar. And so we had a duel against them already. They weren't at full health, unfortunately. So I think it would have been a lot closer. But then we have, obviously our conference championship in a couple weeks coming up on Friday. And then the regional. Cadillac in our region's really tough. Their girls team, I think, is ranked number 2 or 3 in the power rankings in MITCA. And they're going to be a tough team to beat. They have some really good stuff. This used to be, we've bounced back and forth between Division II and Division III. We've been the smallest Division II school. We've been one of the bigger Division III schools. And so, there's good teams wherever we go, right? Last year it was Traverse City, St. Francis, and those teams that are just really good. Now we bump into, we're going against the Cadillacs and the Petoskey's and the Shepherds, and those are all really, really strong teams. And so you talk about track increase, the trackflation over the last few years. There's quality competition wherever you go. And so, regional meet, we're looking forward to that and getting, doing as well as we can, doing our best, seeing what we got and having a great day that day. Obviously it's doing your best at the end of the season. And that's what we're really working for. And getting kids to the state finals, competing at MITCA at team state and seeing where we can shake out in Division II.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Hatfield, thank you so much for joining us here on the Rundown, and good luck to your Warrior squad the rest of the way.
Thanks, Brandon, so much. Appreciate it anytime.
Big thanks to Coach Hatfield for joining us here on the show. Love to give track some love, and we're obviously going to hope to give some more love for some other spring sports over the next week or so. Big thanks also goes out to rivalsmi.com. Represent your team of choice with their store today. Free shipping over $50 orders, rivalsmi.com. Also, big thanks to Bezos Digital. If your business is looking for online digital advertising, but you don't have the knowledge, you can trust the experts, bezosdigital.com, for more information. Looking at track and field so far, we've got plenty of CSAA dual meets that are in the books. Let's take a look at some standings here. Right now on the men's side, the boys side, Tri-County with an undefeated 3-0 start in team scoring. Really nice job for the Vikings so far this year. Chippewa Hills and Reed City tied in second, 2-1, followed by Newaygo and Big Rapids. They're tied at 1-2, and Grant looking for their first conference win here upcoming soon. On the girls side right now, it is Chippewa Hills and Coach Hatfield squad. They are undefeated at 3-0, followed by Tri-County and Newaygo both at 2-1, followed by Reed City also at 2-1, and then at 0-3 Big Rapids and Grant respectively. And I think, Jack, you look at the athleticism. Tri-County has done a great job over the last couple of years. They've really rebuilt that distance program, and then they got the football stars from Coach Butler's squad as well. They are a very well-oiled machine, a lot of depth on the boys side. Now on the girls side, Chippewa Hills, continuous championship success, and they just have it at every single field event. Depth right now has been the biggest key so far here this year in the track season.
Yeah, it most definitely has, especially with a team like Tri-County. And you're recognizing a lot of these names from the football season, a lot of these coyotes from the football season. No wonder they had such a great backfield. These guys are track stars, just phenomenal what the coyotes are doing. Same thing with the Vikings on the boys' side. And the girls have been amazing too, with some phenomenal runners there in the short and long distance.
Absolutely. Looking especially at the CSAA-Red side, you look with Reed City, they've got some great guys as far as the sprints and jumps. So I know Jack Deitch, Kason Kopic, and you have Tyler Woodside throwing right now, who just set a school record. You got a lot of depth there. Tri-County's done a great job in the distance department. You guys got guys like Alex Culver that have done really well in the mid-distance, Rocket Wilson as well, who should be a fast guy with that name, as we've mentioned plenty of times on this show. But then you also have Newaygo that have had some good athletes in there, like Preston Harris, as you know, a youngster that certainly has a lot of talent as well. And I mean, you look especially at the Vikings as well. Pole vault has just been their sport as well when you continuously look at Antor, his success. And then the relays as well. That's where really Chip Hills has really kind of made up their ground and gotten themselves to 2-1, because they have some athletes as well. Hunter McGuire leading that way as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Chip Hills had such an amazing athlete pool in the last couple of years. You know, it's really grown to what it has been now, and no wonder they have such a great track program. All of these guys who play multiple sports, finishing out, a lot of these seniors coming and play track. It's awesome to watch.
Absolutely. And on the girls' side as well, Big Rapids, you know, you look at the Fricky sisters that have done especially a great job, you know, in the basketball court. You've seen Nalea do it really well right now on the track, but just there's not as much depth as there's been in years past. Newaygo has that depth, especially with the youngsters, the sophomores and the juniors. The sprint department really is where they've made their mark, but I think there's still a long way to go. And I think when you look at where Reed City is, they're in a pretty good spot as well. I mean, Chip Hills, they just continuously have, you know, the Cameron MacArthurs, the Peyton Ellis. You have so many of those key pieces that are contributing from their sophomore year and on. That just makes them such a tough team to beat.
Yeah, and they're going to be great for seasons to come because they're such a young team. Some of their top runners are only juniors and sophomores. This Chip Hills team could be dangerous for years to come.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the CSAA-White, looking at their start to the season so far. Central Montcalm at 2-0. You see Kent City at 1-0, Lakeview 1-0. A lot of these meets have been rained out, so they're still be looking to be made up as the season continues. Molly Stanwood right now and White Cloud both looking for a dual win. We have some big-time meets upcoming for as far as all of the regions, so we won't see as many conference matchups, but May 8th is obviously the circle to date. And on the boys' side as well, Kent City has just been phenomenal this year from top to bottom, and the sprints has really been where they have shown their stuff. Blake Carr, Andre Mead, those guys have tag teamed the 100 and 200, and Cale Freeland in the 400 as well. This Eagle squad looks really, really good. Same with the relays. I think you're seeing some great things as well. Lakeview's got quite a bit in the distance department as well. Cooper Tiffany, Mason Lincoln leading the way in that department.
Yeah, this Kent City team has quality and quantity. We're looking at one of those names, Andre Mead. How about a guy who's going to GVSU to play football next year at the top of this conference in the 100, the 200, and then in the relays, he's having an amazing season.
Absolutely. Looking at the CSAA-White, very, very similar in tables. Central Montcalm so far 2-0 on the season. Kent City 1-0 in head-to-head matchups. White Cloud 1-2. Lakeview and Moy Stanwood each 0-1, I should say, so far through their first couple dual meets of the season. And I think you can say the same things when you look at this girls squad as well. Kent City doing a great job in the sprints department. Moy Stanwood has actually made very good progress in that department. Vining and Ross in the 400, the mid distance, they've done a really nice job. But Kent City has just really made their living. You look at Eliana Max, you look at Jocelyn Vogel, you look at some of these freshmen that have came in and have just taken over the distance department. That's going to make them nasty and arguably the best competition to face Central Montcalm going up in championship weekend.
Yeah, some great underclass runners. This Kent City team is very talented, and they have a lot of depth to them. This Lakeview team, though, some top runners at the 100, the 200, and Ava Johnson. There's some girls, down at the 400, sitting, from 7 to 9 that could be sneaky and rise their numbers up a little bit in that 400.
Should be very interesting. We look forward to the CSAA championships coming up on May 8th. I mean, we're talking championship season here, Jack, for track and field. Baseball, the regular season is going to be coming to a close the next coming weeks. Girls soccer is even closer. I mean, it's crazy. We just started the full spring, and now we're already talking about championships. This year's going by too fast.
Yeah, this season really has flown by, but it's been so fun to cover all the sports, really, this whole season. It's been a historic year for the CSAA, just such an exciting year. I can't wait for the end of this baseball season, the end of track season, and the end of girls soccer.
We'll obviously have you covered. You can subscribe Big Rapids Daily News on YouTube, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and X, and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on, including more interviews, more coverage for more sports as we continue on. Jack, any last thoughts for this episode?
This is going to be an exciting week. We talked about it, 44 baseball games and even more softball games. It's going to be a long episode next week, but it's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Coach Hatfield for joining us on the show, and big thanks to you guys for tuning in with us here this afternoon. We will see you on the next edition of The Rundown.